Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, we are from Group 6. There are me, Syilviyana Yanti, and my colleague, Muhammad Akbar Alfaridzi. We are going to present cooperation implicator, specifically cooperative principle. Firstly, let's talk about what cooperation implicator, cooperative principle is. So we hope afterwards you can follow our presentation. Cooperation, a noun, means doing something together towards a shared aim, while implicator, a noun, means the act of suggesting or assuming something you think is true without saying so directly. Cooperation implicator is talking about an activity involving assuming or suggesting between or among two or more people, while cooperative principle is the principle about doing things together, specifically in conversation. Therefore, it means the principle of doing conversation. You know that when communicating in a conversation, it should be done at least with two people. There, we exchange information, we share and receive information with the interlocutor or the opponent. When receiving information, we, as the receiver, always assume or suggest that information that we get from the interlocutor. Now, let's move on to how to run a conversation, crisis maxims. How to run a conversation, crisis maxims. Christ, 1975, proposed that in conversations, speakers and listeners cooperate to make the conversation meaningful and purposeful. That is, we adhere to a cooperative principle. To comply with this, according to Christ, you must make your conversational contribution such as required when it is required. This is achieved by use of 4 conversational maxims. First, maxim of quantity. Second, maxim of quality. Third, maxims of relevance. Fourth, maxims of manner. Maxims of quantity. Make your contributions as informative as is required, but no more. Maxim of quality. Make your contribution true. Do not say anything that you believe to be false, or for which you lack sufficient evidence. Maxims of relevance. Make your contribution relevant to the aims of the conversation. Maxim of manner. Be clear, avoid obscurity, ambiguity, wordiness, and disorder in your language. When we do conversation, we presume that overall the speaker is following the cooperative principle. To do this, we make a particular type of inference known as a conversational implicator, or the assumption arises in a conversation. Consider the following conversational exchange. Do you think my nice new expensive coat feeling suits me? Gee, it's hot in here. Boris utterance clearly violates the maxim of relevance. How can we explain this? Most of us would make the conversational implicator that in refusing to answer the question. Boris is implying, not directly say, that he dislikes false new feelings and doesn't think they suit him at all, but for some reason doesn't want to say so to his face. So the conversational implicator is this. I think that's it from me. Thank you. Now will be presented by another colleague, Muhammad Akbar Alfaridzi.
The nature of maxims. There are some points to make about this. They're not essentially a rule, but a guideline that is extremely flexible. Maxims are not really culture-bound statements. It is something that came from rationales of how the overall human society would think of. Implicators arise. When trying to ask the question of how implicators came to be, there are 2 main mechanisms based on Grice's system. One, standard implicators, which requires the assumption that the system is doing their best to follow the cooperative principle. And the other one is a deliberate flouting of the maxims, which is intended to be perceived as deliberate attempt by the audience, but still a sincere communication. Standard implicators. There are cases when a single maxim is more than enough to explain implicator. For example, I've run out of petrol. There's a garage just around the corner. On the assumption that the speaker is obeying the relation maxim, this reply implicates that the garage sells both petrol and currently open. If neither statements were true, it would not be relevant in that context. But what about multiple maxims? Where's the hammer? It's either in the top drawer or it's on the backyard. While the information is not enough to satisfy the questioner, however, if we assume that B was doing their best to answer, then there is a chance that they don't know the exact location of the hammer. That's all for our presentation. Thank you.